What's up, everyone? Beast Mode back here with another video. So today I wanted to cover the top 8 deck lists from the recent ENT Collectibles tournament. ENT Collectibles is a new store. I think they were an online store before, but they have a brick and mortar now, as far as I know. I'm going to link the Discord server. They wanted to throw the biggest tournament they could with the best prizing. This tournament took place about 2 weekends ago. It was on Saturday. There was about 140 players who entered, and pricing went from first through top 16, which included mats, which you'd see in the thumbnail. Cards. I think first place was a champion pack bottomless. I ended up getting a absolute zero from the magazine, the old school absolute zero. Also, top 4 got Worlds invites to the Format Library Edison World Championship. Also, there were 2 players that already had invites that made top 4, so technically 2 invites would pass down. And what they did with this tournament is rather than just giving the invites to 5th and 6th place based on like standings, because technically there are like 4 5th place players in the tournament. Essentially, like, it's hard to kind of do that. They had 2 additional matches between the 4 remaining players, and the winners of those matches would each get an invite. So I was lucky enough to actually get one. But I'm going to cover the top 8 deck list here really quickly. You'll see a lot of similar decks, and it was a great tournament. I ended up getting my prizing. I took a picture of it. It's in the thumbnail, and I'll try to share the Discord server link, figure out how to do that. I'm not sure if they plan to throw some bigger tournaments. I would guess probably, but definitely check out the server, and I do believe they have an online store planning to sell cards and all that. So anyway, let's get into the top 8 deck list here. So this is Obito. Currently number 1 ranked Edison War League player right now. Currently on my team, of course, Team X, and great player. Value Turbo, best deck of the format right now. It's pretty clear. I'm not sure if this list is different at all. It doesn't seem to be. They're playing Charge, they're playing the Necrogunner. This seems pretty much standard. There's not, one hamster. It might be a bit different, but I think that we're trying to stretch this here. Sideboard is pretty standard. And that's that. So Obito had a great run, top 8. This is our, I don't know, you can say 7th, 5th, 6th place. This actually is the Synchro Cat deck that I played the extra match for the Worlds invite. And I was lucky enough to get a win. But this deck is interesting. You don't see a whole lot of Synchro Cat, so this is kind of cool that it made top 8. I think that they went like 7-1 in Swiss, won their top 16 match, and then I think lost in top 8. So but you don't see a lot of Synchro Cat. It's pretty strong. Usually you see a lot of Gravekeeper Spies running around here, but elected to not run those. Triple Pot of Avarice is a lot, but the card's so good, so maybe not. The side deck is really interesting here. This Panda, I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind it was. Maybe I'm guessing for like Amaryllis or Frogs, like to run over tokens is my guess. You can pull it out with the Rescue Cat, so I think that's likely what it is. Jujitsu Master, I actually used to side deck this like 3 years ago when I first started playing. It's tricky. It works when you don't expect it. It's difficult for zombies to deal with because you just can't ram into face downs, and then like you have to play the whole is it Raiko, is it Hamster, now is it Jujitsu Master? So this card's probably not as good as I think it is, but it's interesting to say the least. Thundering Roar is interesting as well. I'm not entirely sure, maybe just for like Dragon Turbo or something. I did consider side decking this before, mainly for like Fish OTK, because that deck can literally beat you regardless of what your back rows are. So because they do colossal armory arm. So I did consider playing this, but Fish is not relevant right now, so you don't really need it. But yeah, interesting. Small amount of traps, no Solemn, no Dust Shoot. But yeah, congrats to Sky Noon. And we are moving into the 5th through 8th deck list here. Oh, this is mine. So I've played I've played 3 tournaments this year online, and I played Deck Devastators, I played an RBET, and I played this ENT Collectibles, and I went undefeated in Swiss and Deck Devastators, and I went 6-2 with this deck in the ENT Collectibles tournament, and then I won my top 16 match. So the only difference between this and the Deck Devastators deck list is that I don't main the Trag. I was maining Crow instead, because I found after that tournament that Trag was like, just made you feel a little bit more secure than you really were, I guess. People are better at playing around it, and the problem was that there's so many traps that it never ended up hitting the field and was that large, so it didn't really protect you from dying anyway. It was kind of like a false sense of security. I did not play this list in the RBT. I cut the Scarecrows. I played two. I played triple legacy. It was similar. I played offering, but I ended up going. I think I got like 18th place in that. So this deck has been on a tear lately, but I'm kind of bored of it. It's very much the same. I believe that these 18 monsters are very close to being the right amount or in the right ones. I think here you have like one flex spot. It can be a trag, can be a crow, can be whatever you want it to be. And in terms of spells, I think this is probably right. I know people cut down a Book of Life for an allure. I'm not going to argue whether it's good or bad. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I just prefer, I don't like to allure most of the cards in my hand. I like to keep them because they're usually tomatoes, goblins, and Caius, and those are like the best cards on the deck. So, but it does help you dig for the offering. So, problem is, once people know that you're on double road, it's difficult to pull this off. And there's a bunch of replays for these tournaments throughout the event. So people kind of figure it out. And plus, everybody knows what deck I'm on now. So that's one of the reasons why I tried to switch it up in the with the RBET tournament. I kind of went with legacies instead of scarecrows, so people would maybe blind MST and stuff. But regardless, side deck is always different for every tournament. Breaker was MVP this tournament. I loved it. We main deck one crow, so we have a little bit extra space just for the one extra crow there. We don't need to worry about extra slot to side both crows. Trapstun was fine. I put in for a lot of Blackwing players. This card here is great in theory. I just never really had it go off. Still on double skill drain. I don't know if I'm going to keep running this. It's great, but then it also hinders you. You have to side deck very awkwardly with it. But again, this is the deck, and of course Soul Release for the Amaryllis deck that it has increase in popularity. Also, Twister I think is necessary because of the amount of traps you play. Round 1, I actually played a Christia deck that ended up winning like 9-0 at one of these in-person tournaments with Triple Crow and Decree in the main deck. I actually played it round 1, and somehow or another I was able to beat that deck. Don't ask me how, but this card had to go in. Breaker was also good as well. So I ended up winning the extra match for the invite, so I do have a Format Library Worlds invite, which is nice. We'll see what happens with this deck. I don't know how many more tournaments I'm going to be able to get to play throughout the summer, but I definitely plan to go to Nationals in Texas, so we'll see. Next deck, we have Pavinci. This is the Amaryllis deck that made the top cut. This deck's been like popping up everywhere right now. I think it's really good. I don't think it's tier 1, but I think it's better now with the fertilizers, and it's just been more refined. I think people have been really working on it. I know I saw a couple lists running around with Scrap Iron Scarecrow, so I think that was pretty cool to see that. But this one here does not play it. Starlight Road seems to be like guaranteed main in a lot of decks right now. It just seems like a lot of people are electing to main deck it, which it's great as a one of. I'm not sure if two is probably overkill, to be honest, but once people know that they're there, they just play around them. And good players, once they recognize that card hasn't moved face down for a while, they're just going to never do anything with it. Like, you're never going to get to activate it because they know it's a road. So, side deck, I don't know enough about this deck. This card's really good against zombies, I know that. Double Vortex and Soul Release. So, this side deck is like, there's a lot of graveyard hate definitely here with the Crow. Trapstun seems really good. I think this card's probably better sideboard than it is main deck. I haven't done enough testing to say. But yes, Amaryllis has been on a tear lately. It's been like doing really good in-person events. I'm not sure if a lot of people know how to play against it. I don't really know how to play that well against it. I don't see it a lot, but it's become more popular. So shout out to Pavinci. I think we're into top 4 now. This here is Libro Della's deck. This is the player I lost to in Top Cut. They played well all tournament. I definitely got to catch some of their matches, and this is, I believe, like Ludo's Blackwing deck with the one Book of Moon. I believe it's like card for card. Whatever event he ended up winning, he does well in most events, but I believe this is pretty much the standard Blackwing build. There are a couple running around with a Legacy or 2. Oh, there's one here, but this also has Road in the main board. Side deck here is just like hates everything. That's why Blackwings are so strong. Excuse me. You got Triple Dust for the Blackwing Mirror. This kills zombies. Triple Pulling for frogs. You have a couple deck devies for frogs, hit or miss. This card just kills anything that's not tier 1, essentially, like all the quick draw decks, all the fairy decks. It just destroys all that other stuff. No min likely for the value matchup. 1 Dyna and a Crow just to have a Crow. But yeah, this deck is pretty much, it is what it is. So moving on to third place. We have Jay Foradis, value again, and strong player. as you'll see, there's a lot of value decks. This is a 41 card deck. I don't know if the Compulse is just an extra. They're on an extra hamster as well, so that's 2 hamster here. I'm surprised Gores. I'm not sure if they all play Gores. I don't think so. This is, I don't know. I know for a while the decks weren't playing Gores, but maybe now that they've cut down on Royal Oppression, it does make sense. I haven't really looked at value decks since like 10-foot. That's a while ago because I know he was not playing it, but the deck has changed a lot in terms of how many oppression they're playing. Sideboard pretty standard, triple Dyna, probably for frogs. I'm not sure. The second road, and we're moving on to the second place deck, which is also value turbo. So yeah, it's kind of getting a little boring with all the value decks. I can agree with that. One hamster here. I think this is very similar to the Obito's build here. No Spirit Reaper. That's in and out of decks depending on what version you're on. Sideboard, very much the same as everything else. Nothing to talk about here. And the winner of the event, we had Ricky, and that is again on Value Turbo, and very similar to all the other builds, except there's an Icarus attack, so that's a little bit spicy. But yeah, these decks don't really change much. They are what they are at this point. It's like a card or two different across the decks, kind of like Blackwing. It's really what tech card you want to play that tournament. Sideboards are where you can have a little bit of creativity, but I think it's pretty clear at this point that Value is likely the strongest deck of the format. It could just be because it's the most represented, but it doesn't have a really bad matchup into anything. It's able to shut down most of the tier 2 decks alone with just like Royal Oppression and Deck Devi. It just has a lot of side deck cards that can just blow other matches out of the water, and that's why it's so strong. And plus, it has the potential to just win out of nowhere. Like, you can just draw all monster hands with this deck and literally, boom, win the game. So, yeah, and again, I don't really play a lot of Value. I'm sure there's some skill to it in the mirror match and stuff, but that's going to be a lot of what's coming up. If you're playing this deck, you really have to be able to navigate the mirror match because it seems that everybody's playing it. So there were 4 builds, 4 Values in the top 8 alone. So I didn't even look at the top 16 to tell you how many more were there. But anyway, I wanted to just cover the deck list quickly. I wanted to shout out ENT, great tournament, great prizing for a free event, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to play in the next RBT, but we'll see. And I definitely plan to be at Nats, and I plan to be in the RBT in New York. So those definitely will be the next 2 in-person events I'm at, and then we'll see what online event I'm able to join. But we're rolling with the Scarecrow still. If you guys have any questions, you can always comment or hit me up on Discord. And with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.